Hey everybody, it's Kevin. This is the fourth installment in my video series about inflation. Going to go through some numbers today, some real numbers from the CPI data from last month. We're about to get the new data tomorrow, being Thursday. But we're going to go through some real numbers and then a couple kind of hypothetical scenarios based on salary versus hourly wage earners. And just to see some real numbers and how these inflation numbers are really affecting us. And I definitely encourage you to do the same for your specific circumstances if you haven't already, just so you have a better understanding of how inflation is affecting your budget and your spending. I mean, obviously you're aware of the fact you're paying more for the same things, but to look at how much purchasing power you're actually losing. And if this trend continues, which there's no indication that it's not gonna, there's no indication that it's gonna stop, at least not anytime soon. So if you're a numbers geek like me, hopefully you'll enjoy this. If not, I don't know, maybe you'll get something out of it anyway. It is Wednesday, the 12th. Tomorrow, the new CPI data comes out, Consumer Price Index, inflation, right? So if you've never looked at one of these CPI charts or tables before, this is what it looks like. So all items add up to 100, right? Or 100% of your spending. So this is, for all intents and purposes, like the percentage of your spending that you spend on this category. This number right here is your year over year change. So from August 21 to August 22, food went up 11.4%. So we're going to get a new one of these tomorrow that'll say from September 21 to September 22. The CPI number, for a while it was like 9%, 9.1%. It dropped down to like 8.3%, I think. You know, these headline numbers, what they call them. In this report, this was the 8.3% number. Why am I talking about this? Because, first of all, mainly because this number is complete garbage. It's based on this hypothetical basket of goods, as they call it, which is all this stuff, right? So they just look at all this stuff month to month, year to year. They give it an assigned weight or percentage, basically, and they chart how much that price of medical care commodities, used cars and trucks, new vehicles, etc., how much these things change month to month. And that's where our year over year headline numbers come from. I think it's complete bullshit. For instance, why do I say that? Well, they say that food year over year went up 11.4%. But that's based on someone spending 13.5% of their spending on food. Okay? Does that sound right to you? Let's do a little bit of math here real quick. Let's say your take-home pay. Let's say you take home $1,000. And your food spending is 13.5% of that, is what the Bureau of Labor and Statistics claims. If you take home $1,000 a month, are you spending $135 on food? Let's use a couple other numbers here. Let's say you take home $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000. If your take-home pay is $2,000, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, you spend $270 a month on food. Or $400 if you take home $3,000. Or $540 if you take home $4,000. Do any of these numbers match your situation? Let's even factor in something else. Let's say you're lucky enough to be able to save some money a month. Let's say you save 10% of your take-home pay every month. So you spend that. And now let's change these numbers. So this is what you're actually spending per month, right? So then your food expense would be $120. All right. Well, let's see what these numbers are for 2,000, 3,000, and 4,000. Again, if you're saving 10% of your money, this is what you spend in a month. Does this food cost match what you're spending every month? Let's look at energy. According to the BLS, you spend I'm going to round that up to 8.8% of your spending money goes to energy, gasoline, and your utilities. So your electricity and your natural gas at home. 8.8%. If your take-home pay is $1,000 and you're able to save $100 of that, are you spending $80 a month on not just your energy utilities, but also gas? Do these numbers look right for your gas for your car plus your utility bills, gas plus electricity? If you're making $2,000 a month, taking home $2,000 a month, or $3,000 a month, or $4,000 a month, is this reflective of your spending? Again, I think probably not. Let's look at a big one. Shelter. Shelter is under this services less energy, right? So there's really just three major categories. We got food, energy, and then all other spending. Inside of that all other spending is your shelter, right? And they're saying shelter is 32% of your take-home pay, or your spending, 32% of your spending. And in our example, we're saying our spending is 90% of our take-home pay. So let's say shelter, okay, times that. So again, if this is your take-home pay, is this reflective of what you're spending for shelter? So why am I doing this? Again, the whole point of showing these numbers is to suggest that this CPI report, which is what we base our entire inflation data on, right? This is the inflation data. And when we see that inflation is 9% or 8.3%, all of this data is what generates that number. But these are real numbers. If you're taking home $3,000 a month, is your shelter portion of your spending $966? Is your energy $264? Maybe your food is $400, but I doubt it if you've got kids, right? And again, food is food at home plus food away from home, meaning grocery store plus restaurants, fast food, the taco truck outside your house, the cafeteria at work, whatever, right? But it's not things like toothpaste, toilet paper. That would be in this all items less food and energy, right? And then they go on to break these down even further, right? So the CPI data is at best flawed. I think flawed is even a generous way to put it. And it's all going to be dependent on your spending habits and your family's needs and spending habits, right? If you let's look at another one here. Let's look at some items that moved up big. Eggs. All right. Eggs went up 40% year over year. If where you live, eggs cost $3 a dozen, well, that means now they cost $4.20. They cost $3 last year. Now this year they cost $4.20. Well, how many eggs do you buy? That's going to be different for every family, right? That's going to be different for every household. If you've got 6 kids and you like to cook breakfast a lot, then maybe you're buying a lot more eggs. So, I don't know, let's just make up some numbers. Let's say you buy 8 dozen eggs a month. Then your cost for eggs per month is going to be $24. That was last year. This year, your cost for eggs went up to $33.60. Almost $10 more, right? almost 10 bucks a month, that you're not getting anything more for that. It's just costing you 10 more dollars. But you get the point. If you consume a lot of eggs in your household, the fact that eggs went up by 40% in a year might be a bigger deal to you than it is to other people. If you don't eat chicken, then you don't care that chicken went up 16.6%. Let's look at this another way. Let's say you are on salary and you make $50,000 a year, and you didn't get a raise, right? So last year you made 50 grand, and this year you're making that same 50 grand. Well, if inflation year over year is 8.3%, then your new salary, your spending power, is actually $4,150 less. So even though you made the same 50 grand this year that you did last year, it's as if you only made 45,850. Your purchasing power went down by that much per year. That's that's per month, 350 bucks almost. So every month you lost that much purchasing power. That's a car payment. Obviously, again, depending on what kind of car you drive, that might be the cell phone bill for your whole family. Just gone. Just every month, you lost the ability to spend $345. What if you're hourly, right? What if you're an hourly employee and you make 12 bucks an hour? Well, again, with inflation at 8.3%, you just lost $1 an hour. So you're not working any differently, but your hourly wage just went down from 12 bucks to 11 bucks as far as your purchasing power goes, right? Which, for all intents and purposes, it's a pay cut, right? If you didn't get a raise from last year to this year and you make the same 50 grand, you got a pay cut of $4,100 a year. If you work for $12 an hour, you got a pay cut down to $11 an hour. Let's say you work 40 hours a week. That's 480 bucks a week. But at $11 an hour, that's $440 a week. You're losing 40 bucks a week. If you lost 40 hours a week and you're now effectively making $11 an hour, that means you need to work an extra 3.62 hours per week to make back the money you had when you were making 12 bucks an hour. Does that make sense? So to just be even with yourself from last year, you have to work almost 4 more hours per week. Or if you're the salary employee, right? If you want to make up that $4,100 that you lost from last year, let's say you get a part-time job. Let's say you get a part-time job at 12 bucks an hour. Well, how many hours do you need to work in a year to make up that 4,100 bucks? You need to work 345 hours a year at another part-time job, even though you've got a full-time job, to make the same $50,000 worth of purchasing power. You need to work 345 hours a year at 12 bucks an hour. So every week you need to work almost 7 hours a week at a part-time job making 12 bucks an hour to make up this 4,150 bucks. So this is what inflation is doing. And it's not just a matter of our eggs went from $3 to $4.20. Okay? $1.20, whatever. Again, unless you eat a lot of eggs, that might not be a big deal to everybody. This right here, though, this is a big deal to everybody because your purchasing power is being wiped out. You have to work more just to get even with yourself from a year ago. Or if you're a salary employee, you have to get a second job to get even with yourself from a year ago. And it's not just that. The whole point of me going through these numbers up here is that I am suggesting that this 8.3% year over year inflation rate is bullshit. Because if these numbers look wrong to you based on how much money you're spending, then I would suggest that inflation of 8.3% is not what you're experiencing. It's probably closer to 15%. And if your purchasing power decreased by 15%, you lost $7,500 worth of spending power in a year. And now you need to work another 12 hours a week at your part-time job. Or if you make $12 an hour, you just lost almost $2 an hour in purchasing power. And you need to work 7 more hours a week just to get back to where you were. And again, I have no evidence for this number. I just think it's probably much more accurate. For instance, we know what gas prices have done. I mean, they went up to all-time record highs. Then they dropped a little bit, and now they're coming right back up. But here we go. Utilities, energy services for electricity and your gas. They say that went up 19.8% on the year. Well, I actually looked year over year on my energy bill. This is my current September 2022 bill. These are the rates per kilowatt hour, right? And these are the rates per therm of natural gas, however much natural gas that is, I don't know. And so these are the changes in percent from last year to this year. The distribution charge went up by 5%, not a big deal. The actual rate for the purchased electricity went up 159%, or it went up 2.6 times. This supply cost adjustment, whatever the hell that is, went up 43%, or 1.43 times. Transmission service, up 26%. A couple of these things went down, but my renewable energy adjustment went up 153%. Qualifying infrastructure plant surcharge went up 182%, or 2.8 times. And so here I calculated October 21 versus September 22, and I used this 338 kilowatt hours for both, even though I used more here. I didn't think it would be fair to use this bigger number for the current year. So all of these numbers are the rate times 338 kilowatt hours, right? Still the rate times 338 kilowatt hours. My bill went up 29%, whereas the Bureau of Labor and Statistics says that energy went up 19%. So that's a full 10 percentage points more. So again, I'm suggesting that these numbers are wrong, right? They are more wrong for some people than for other people, right? For instance, if you live by yourself, maybe you don't use so much energy. If you've got a family of 6 and someone is home all the time, you are using a lot more electricity and a lot more natural gas than someone who lives alone and is gone 8 to 10 hours a day, right? If you have to drive 60 miles to work every day, then your gasoline that went up 25%, that's affecting you a lot more than someone who lives 2 miles from where they work. So I think that a lot of these numbers are quite a bit off from what most of us are actually experiencing. Now, again, how much of your spending is on bedroom furniture? I don't know. Maybe it's zero. they factor it as being 0.316%. So again, it's going to be different for everybody. You know, I definitely understand they have to track this somehow. Perhaps this is the best they can do, but I think it is still very flawed. And I think it's not unreasonable to assume that our actual inflation rate is probably closer to double what they're telling us. And again, if we just look at, you know, what they consider your food expenditures, your energy expenditures, your shelter expenditure versus how much your take-home pay would be, right? Do these numbers look right to you? I mean, if you live in a big city, I am almost certain your rent is more than $1,288, no matter how much you're taking home. And again, this is considered take home, or I'm using your take home pay because we're talking about as a percentage of spending. Going with the actual reported number, let's say we've got 8.3% inflation, which is what they're saying from last year to this year. Now, there is no reason to really think that these incremental raises in the interest rate that the Federal Reserve is doing is going to squash inflation, right? It certainly hasn't yet. So we're gonna find out what this headline number is tomorrow. Tomorrow being Thursday the 13th. So it's probably going to be somewhere in this ballpark. Might be a little up, might be a little down, but it's certainly not going to be 2%, right? But even if it was, let's say in a year from now, they have squashed inflation down to 2%. Well, that's going to be 2% from this year. So that means based on last year, you've already lost $4,150 of your salary if you make 50 grand. If inflation next year, so from 22 to 23, is say they get it down to 2%. Well, you've lost 2% based on this number now, not based on this number. You're not going back to being able to spend like you're making $50,000 or like you're making $12 an hour. Okay? It's going to be this number times 2%. So you're going to lose another $917 a year of your purchasing power. So even if they get inflation from 8.3% last year to this year down to 2% this year to next year, if you don't make any more money than you did 2 years ago, that's what you're effectively going to be making at this time next year, which is $5,067 less per year in purchasing power, or $422 a month. So let's go back to our hourly employee who's making $12 an hour. You were making $480 a week, which was about $25,000 a year. With 1 year's worth of inflation, that went down to $22,888. And if we have another year of just 2% inflation, which is the Federal Reserve's target. Okay, think about that for a minute. They want you to lose 2% of your purchasing power a year. Does that benefit anybody to lose 2% of your purchasing power every year? No, it's just a number that you don't notice. If something costs $100 one year and then costs $102 the next year, do you really care? But every year that the stock market goes up 2% or that home prices go up 2%, that's a good thing. That's why they want inflation. Anyway, if you have if you lose another 2%, it's again on top of this year of inflation already. So went from making $480 a week to $440 a week, and then you're going to lose another $8 a week. So now you're making $430 a week. And so that's bringing your annual pay down to $22,430. But if you're making $12 an hour, that's almost an hour of your labor. You are basically working an hour for free. When we said that you would need to work an extra 3.6 hours this year to effectively make the same as you were at $12 an hour last year, if nothing's changed, you're just giving 3.6 hours of your work week away. If we have a year of 2% inflation from now till 2023, you're basically giving almost another hour of your labor away. Now, this is the best case scenario, is this 2%, which, again, that's the Federal Reserve's target is 2% inflation per year. Does anyone really think that we're going to get there? Because I don't, not this year. Probably not for quite a while. But let's say we do bring it down. Let's say we go from 8.3% down to 5%. Well, that's good, right? That'd be a good drop in inflation. But again, it's going to be 5% after this 8.3% we've already lost, which, like I said earlier, I don't even think this 8.3% is real. I think it's probably more like double that. But let's say they bring inflation down to 5%. Well, our salary employee making $50,000 a year lost $4,150 this year, and next year at 5% inflation would lose another $2,300 almost, bringing their $50,000 salary down to effectively $43,500, meaning that you have taken a $6,400 pay cut or $536 pay cut per month. What about our hourly employee? Well, you lost $40 a week from last year to this year, and you would lose another $22 a week this year to next year, meaning you went from making $25,000 a year to now making $21,700. That's a significant difference for someone making $12 an hour, right? $3,200. Imagine if you make $12 an hour right now, how helpful would $3,200 be right now for you? I'm guessing you could do a lot of good things with that $3,200 right now. And you're going to be working for effectively $3,200 less. And if you needed to make that money up at $12 an hour, you've got to work another 270 hours in a year. That's 5 more hours per week. Because in effect, you're really making $10.45 an hour, effectively, as far as your purchasing power is concerned. These are the things that our government policies are doing to us, the money printing, the ballooning government budgets, the deficit spending, and it doesn't have any signs of slowing down right now. And these are good scenarios, right? 5% is a good scenario. 2% is the target scenario for the Federal Reserve. Okay? What if there's no change in inflation? What if it actually goes up? Let's just say there's no change and it stays at 8.3% for another year. You made 50 grand last year, you make 50 grand this year, and you're making 50 grand next year. You are effectively only really making $42,000 now. For our $12 an hour employee, your $25,000 a year that you made is now $4,000 less. Now you're making $21,000 a year. So you effectively went from making $12 an hour to making $10 an hour. You know, if you haven't looked at these numbers and what they mean for you, I definitely suggest you do that, just so you have a better understanding of really what effect this is having on your personal budget. You know, again, this $4,100 had to come from somewhere. Either you cut this spending out of another part of your budget, or this money went on a credit card, right? If you didn't change anything, then you're probably $4,000 deeper in debt right now. Or you had to cut spending out of another part of your life that maybe you didn't want to do, but were forced to do. Anyway, really, that's it. Sorry. Just good luck out there. Save some money if you can. Cut some spending wherever you can. Buy some silver if you can. Buy some gold if you can, because who knows what the heck is coming down the pike here. Just good luck. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your families.